Hello and welcome to Voice of the Box podcast number 2. I'm your host, Matt Crevin. Recently I had the chance to interview Damon Bruce, who is host of KNBR's Sports Phone 680. The show's been running for 25 years. Damon's been behind the microphone for the last 3, and as he says, a solid 3 years. Damon's a really good guy. I've had the chance to get to know him over the last couple of years, and he is not the kind of guy that's going to tell his sports listening audience what they want to hear. He's going to really tell them what it's like, what he sees, and he's not going to mince his words. In a recent interview, Damon told me a little bit about how he got his start in radio, what he enjoys about what he does, and perhaps some of the things he'd like to change if possible. Once again, Damon Bruce joins me on Voice of the Box. Here with Damon Bruce, host of Sports Zone 680. Wave to all of our fans up there.
I think I just did.
You did, excellent. I should turn the microphone to you when it's your turn to talk. Is that how we do it in radio?
It's very professional. I can tell this is going to go smoothly.
Yeah, very smoothly. Tell me, first of all, what's it like when the microphone's turned against you? And I'm not saying that we're going to get vicious, but when someone's holding the mic interviewing you versus your role, you're always interviewing someone else.
You know, it's funny. It's fun to ask the questions, but it's also fun to give the answers. And I feel like I kind of do both on my show every night. There's times when, you know, if they're not getting calls, chances are you're interviewing yourself. So I interview myself quite often. I'm a fascinating interview subject and interviewer. It's a perfect combination. When my questions hit my answers all at the same time, it's magic.
I'll be the judge of that. For those of you that don't know, I'm actually starting ahead of myself. Damon, of course, is a host of his own nightly show on KNBR 680, Sports Phone 680, I should say. Actually, you know what? I should know this. How long has the show been running? I'm thinking going back to the Candido days. How long has that show been on?
It's the longest. It's one of the longest all sports talk formatted shows in America. It's going on a quarter century, about 25 years.
And you've been behind the microphone for how long?
3 of them. For only 3 of them. But I'd say a solid 3 of them. So, no, you know, it's a great show. And KNBR has a reputation all of its own. And then it has its reputation at night as well. And the signal's so huge, and it's just it's a wonderful place. And you look at all the people that have sat behind the microphone, be it Ralph or Bob, and seen what they've done with their careers since then. It's a wonderful place for me to be. It's great. It's a great position.
Part of the format of Voice of the Box is really to get people that are behind the scenes. You're clearly not behind the scenes. You're a recognizable voice and a face here to you know, thousands of sports fans. But what I like to get out of people when I talk to them is to, number one, tell me about how you got your start in radio. If you could, just in summary, because I've got a lot of questions I want to hit you on. How did you get your start? Because that's what really, you know, the college kids like to hear about, how they can break in, you know, in such a wonderful, what would seem like such a wonderful job.
Well, you know, I mean, I did the whole college radio thing, the play-by-play, the music show, the sports talk show, the general talk show. I did all of that on college radio, and I think that that's a huge part of it. But an even bigger part, and I guess the part I'll tell you is, when did I start? I started when I was about, I don't know, 6 years old, and I got my first tape recorder with a record button on it. I mean, that's when it really started for me. And
listening to this kid, 6 years old.
Well, no, I mean, it's just that, you know, it was always in me. It was something that I was interested in right away. And when I got that first piece of recording equipment, I was fascinated by it as a little kid. I was fascinated by the radio. I was fascinated by sports radio. And so it all seemed to fit. Like, I never really chose it. I never felt that I sat down one day and made the decision, well, I want to go into radio, or I want to go into sports radio, or I want to, you know, be a person who talks for life. It just kind of happened, and it seemed natural. See, and I don't hit the microphone. It's a good lesson.
Good hands.
Good hands. Don't hit the microphone is a very good lesson. Very nice catch. This is the man in the box.
Moving right along to the next question.
If it doesn't work out for 49ers wide receivers today, I like what I just saw right there.
Yeah,
that's
just out here, the wonderful yard that we call Candlestick Park. You're a sports fan, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, you're in here, you know, watching the game. But then the unique part is you got to get, you know, to the stage here. You actually do it here post game, and you're fielding calls from left to right, top to bottom. You got to be prepared for just about anything. What do you do, if anything, differently than the average sports fan that's at home watching the game, but you have a job afterwards? You're taking calls. How do you prepare differently?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same guy watching football I am here as I am at home, but here I'm on the clock, so I'm taking notes, and I'll probably be looking at the game at a at a level that most people really aren't concerned with. You know, they're not looking for interior line play where I might be. You know, and it's just, are you looking at the general you're watching the quarterbacks and just the skill positions, or you're watching everything, and that's, I guess that's the difference. But it's not like I'm a trained professional scout. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I'm telling you what this fan sees. They let this fan have a job in that press box, and so I'm just going to tell you what I see, and it's there's no formula.
I know that you're here because you've got a passion for it. We've talked about this, you know, over the years, maybe just last year. There's obviously challenges in every job. I don't want to dwell on negative aspects of what you do. Let me ask you, what are some of the top 2 or 3 or 5 elements that really give you pleasure about what you do?
Oh,
because the negatives could be easy. Let's talk about what really gives you what brings you joy to come to the park.
Well, being here, and you know, there are a lot of people who just the prospect of going to work today doesn't sound so good. To me, it always sounds pretty good. Even when I don't want to do it, it's still a good day at work. You know, my job is the fastest. If my show's 3 hours, it's the fastest 3 hours of my day. It goes by, you know, fast all the time, and I guess time flies when you're having fun. I mean, that's the best part. The access. You know, there's a part of me that likes to think, oh, I got to wear the journalist hat. I got to be a pro here. But there's also a part of me that says, you know, that's where the catch happened, man. It happened right there, and like Joe Montana played right here, and. Right here. You please pan for the quality shot. This is in high def, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nothing but the best.
3D,
Yes.
IMAX.
Yes. All of it.
I can't help but look at this place and feel that it's a privilege to come in here and put my fingerprints on the new memories, on the stuff that's happening right now that might be legend 20 years from now. It's just, you know,
You're in such a unique chair, you know, probably when you're in the studio, you're fielding calls, like I said, all over the region, probably even all over the country. There has to have been a couple of times that something's just made you chuckle. Can you give me something that's just made you not laugh on air, but you thought after that caller hung up, you're like, oh my gosh, this is something that I won't forget?
Well, I mean, it all gets disposed of quickly. You got to move on. It's like a cornerback. You got to have a real short memory, you know. But I would say just the stuff that stands out has never been like, oh, there's a comment I don't know what to do. You know, I don't know how to handle that. It's, you know, something sexual, it's something, you know, it's a 4-letter word that, did we dump it on time? Did that just go out over the air? It's those moments that get you, you know, your heart pumping a little bit more than any other moment. A drunk caller's a drunk caller, happens every night. It'll happen, you know, the drunk calls happen to good shows all the time. It might even happen to yours. It could happen right now.
Me calling my own show, that's the problem.
But it's, you know, come on. If the worst part of my job is talking to a disgruntled, pissed off, drunken fan, it's a pretty good job, right?
I could imagine different. I could see worse. You interview a lot of athletes, whether they're Niners and other. You know, you're not just covering the 49ers. I know that. What's the most peculiar interview you've had? And what I mean by that is, obviously you've talked to X's and O's, but maybe someone that just gave you something you didn't see coming, or you thought at the end of the interview, boy, that was probably one of the more unusual interviews. It could be something funny, weird, odd, quirky.
You know, it's funny, with all the time I'm around athletes, it's so rare that they say anything you remember, which is, you know, maybe my questions need to get better, I don't know. But it's very rare that an athlete says anything of note beyond the moment. And I gotta be honest with you, I have not run into that, oh, this is the definitive moment in question of my career or anything. I know I've rubbed guys the wrong way, and I've certainly had private conversations, which I'll keep private, even though the viewership here is huge. I would imagine if this got out, it would be huge. But no,
all two of us, yes. Mom and Dad included.
You know, I'll tell you what I remember is I remember talking to Patrick Willis the first time, you know, he was almost ever interviewed professionally on the day he was drafted. Hear the excitement in his voice, you know, the genuine, oh my God, this is happening moment in his voice. You could hear it, and you know, being around Bonds and going through that whole thing, you know, watching Bonds say there's nothing wrong with this record. You know, it's not tainted. Watching him say, I'll never forget it. Watching him say, you know, it's not tainted. It's not tainted. That stands out more than anything. It's if any zaniness occurs, you'll be the first to know.
Damon Bruce, I appreciate you taking some time right here, Voice of the Box.
Absolutely, Matt. Anytime, man.